Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel with me, Matthew Morgan. Now today's review is a requested review, been requested many times, and what we like to do here at Eastfield Gunroom is bring you what you want. So today we're looking at a Browning 825 Pro Sport. Before we get into that, I just want to say, as ever, this video is proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show, the largest event in the British shooting calendar. And thanks to everybody for liking the video, subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already done that, please do hit like, please hit subscribe, and don't forget that notification button as well, so you'll be notified every time something new comes out. If you're not already aware, 2025 is the 100th anniversary of the Browning B25 shotgun. It is a gun we've looked at on the channel before. It's the handmade Belgian Browning. What Browning have done this year to commemorate the 100th year anniversary, this milestone, is they've launched the 825 range of shotguns. Now, we have looked at the 825 S3, which is a black action one, in a previous video, but I've had a number of requests saying, Matt, can you get hold of an 825 Pro Sport and tell us what you think about it? So guess what's happening today? So the Pro Sport is a name that you will be familiar with from the 725 range of guns, which when it was launched back in 2017 and ran through just before this gun came out, it was Browning's top-end competition gun on their low-profile 725 platform. What Browning have done is they've carried the name through, only this time, rather than have a plain black action, they have gone for an engraved action in line with kind of the old grade 5 prestige range of guns. So as you can see straight away, it's the low profile action, same as the 725. It's no different in that respect. The main difference when you first look at it is, wow, you've got this synergy of the original nitrided finish with this really, really nice mystical kind of deep cut scroll work. Now, not dissimilar to what we've seen on probably Caesar Greenies was the only other gun I could really compare it to in terms of the aesthetics. Or when I first saw it, I thought maybe something like a Longthorn. So what Browning have done, and hats off to them, because as I said before, they are masters at dragging out old engraving patterns from the back of the filing cabinet. They've come up with something completely new, and this gun so far has been in huge, huge demand. If we look closely at the engraving, on the underside in particular, you've got some sort of jungle leaves. There's a lot of scrolly stuff going on. It really is quite a different, unique design. Not really dissimilar to a bit like a paisley tie, which I have to say works really well with the plain top side of the action. 825, of course, is the new 825 logo with Browning underneath. And on the underside, we've got Browning in the traditional font with Pro Sport, which is exactly the same font as they used on the previous model, which was the 725. So, like I said, it is a really good looking gun. It does scream high grade when you first look at it, but let's go a little bit deeper, because if you haven't seen the original 825 video we did, you'll want to know about all the features. So one of the most notable features for me is they've completely changed the design of the top lever and they've made it longer. Now, the idea behind that is to make it a more comfortable experience for opening and closing the gun during the shotgun's operation. It's not notchy. And what they've also done is they've changed the action profile so it sweeps further down into the stock, so you've got physically more metal, which means that should the woodwork swell, the top lever won't catch it and cause any kind of damage. Top lever itself, same finish as the nitrided action and the backstrap, with the standard Browning butt mortar logo as you would expect. Also on the top lever, we've got a slightly new design on the actual checker in the grippy bit, where we've got straight lines, whereas previously it was kind of checkered. Continuing down the backstrap, they've also redesigned the safety catch. They've basically reversed it and made it a bit fatter at the top. And Browning's idea behind that is for improved operation, if you like, which just means it a little bit easier to push your thumb against if you're out in the cold or the wet or whatever we tend to get in the UK. The action itself, we've also got this kind of stippled edges here. Now, we've come to expect stippling to be kind of anti-glare, you know, very matte finish. I'm not quite sure what this is from Browning. I think it's more down to aesthetics than an actual kind of a functional feature because of where it's based. However, having said that, it does complement the rest of the action nicely, and you've also got this Go Faster stripe along here just to match it up. Another noticeable difference from the previous 725 model is what Browning have done with the actual barrel wings themselves. They've elongated the actual barrel to go lower into the action, which kind of gives this illusion of having an even lower profile action and making it a bit more refined in terms of the aesthetics, which again, as I said with the 825 S3, I think works really well. If we just close it up, if I open and close it, that's where that new top lever design comes into effect, and it does actually feel a bit easier, a bit smoother to open. You could argue a bit more like a more expensive shotgun. So just another point is with the action where it comes into the fore-end iron. It's one design, it carries through almost to the point where you can't see the join between the fore-end iron and the beginning of the action. It is seamless. Trigger, no changes here. I would imagine the spare one's in the box. Currently, this gun is fitted with what Browning have always called their Olympics trigger because of the design of the sweep on it. And this goes back to the days of the B25, the A1s in the 1970s. Again, from Browning's point of view, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The trigger guard itself, nitride finish with a bookmark, so no surprises there. So on to the barrel. So what we've got here is we've got matte finish, same as the 725 was. It is a 13x8 tapered rib. Okay, completely matte finish, ventilated rib, ventilated barrels. We'll just pop the fore end off. Now this gun in particular is a 32-inch gun. They are also available in 30-inch, as is the S3, which we've previously reviewed. If we start at the breech end, we've got engine turning. It's stamped up as Invector DS. It's 32-inch barrels. Both the ejector slides and the lump are engine turned. The rest of it's matte finished. And at the end, we've got another change. We've got Browning's new choking system. Now, this is the DS Pro, which replaces the DS from the 725 range. And what Browning have basically done, they've changed the aesthetics. They've taken away the gold bands. They've replaced that with some black ones. They've got this nice knurled edge on the end, which I think is quite smart. But more importantly, they've actually changed the denomination of the choke, whereby they've traditionally you'd have cylinder, improved cylinder, modified, improved, modified, etc. Browning have gone back to numbers. So we've got 0 is skeet, we've got 10 is quarter, 20 is half, etc. And they run from 0 to 45, so a good range of chokes to cover all aspects of clay shooting. Finishing off, we've got a high-vis bead, again the same as you got on the Prosport, and we would expect to find multiple colours and multiple thicknesses in the box. That is a product now that's been around for a number of years. It's something that Browning have adopted. Feels like a century ago because they've been on so many of their guns, and they continue to pop them in the box because obviously Browning shooters like that and they keep buying the guns. Just going back to the back end of the barrels, we've got the floating bit just towards the breech. This particular gun, as all Browning 825 Pro Sports are, is CIP, steel shot proofed and fleur-de-lis, and is 2 3/4-inch chambers, the same as the 725 Pro Sport was. Now this gun weighs 8 pounds 6 ounces. So you might think for a 32-inch, it's probably on the slightly lighter side. If we look at something like an MK38 competition, which is another gun we reviewed on the channel, you'll be looking at about 810, 811. And there's a reason for that, and I'm going to tell you about it now. It's all to do with the wood density on the different models. If you remember the MK38 competition, Miracle used American walnut, and also the 825 S3, that's American walnut. The thing with that is it's very dense and very heavy. So what you ultimately get is you get a gun that usually weighs in excess of 8 pounds 10 ounces when you're looking at a 32-inch variant. Now, this gun utilizes Turkish walnut. This is grade 4 Turkish walnut, and what a banging piece it is, I have to say that. And because of that, it's a lot less dense and it's a lot lighter. So what I would say is if you're looking at a gun in terms of a crossover, or you don't want a really heavy gun, the Pro Sport should be on your shopping list before the S3. Now, another point about the wood, this is a very nicely figured piece of Turkish oil finish walnut. And I have to say, during my weekly routine, I go into a number of different gun shops, I look at a number of different guns, and I have to say I've been underwhelmed by a lot of the Browning models recently, particularly the Pro Sport, some of the limited edition, the 525 Autumns, that kind of stuff. I just don't think for the money that they're commanding that the wood is good enough. That's why I search high and low to find this one. It's as good as I've seen on a Pro Sport. So what I would say is, sadly, this is not the norm. So if you are going to go and treat yourself to one of these guns, and why wouldn't you, do a bit of shopping. So we've got factory adjustable cone. I was looking at the dimensions on the Browning website, but when it said that this gun hadn't got a palm swell, I stopped reading what it said, because obviously I wasn't going to take that into account, because we have got a slightly reduced palm swell from the 725 and it feels really good. But as it's a competition gun, and my opinion is it should have a palm swell. I'm pleased that it has. Back end, we have got a Pacmide accelerator recoil pad. These come in 25 and 20 millimeters. So you go from 14 3/4 to 15 inches length of pull. And as with all the previous 725 Pro Sport models, these are ground to fit. So don't lose them, because it won't be straight back on the back if you do. Checkering is another point. I have made it quite clear with the guns like the Browning Ultra XS Pro, I don't like the modern style of checkering. I find it too cartoony, too big, too coarse. Thankfully, it's a much more refined version on the 825 Pro Sport, much more finely cut and double point checkering. Exactly what you want on a gun like this, in my opinion. Onto the fore end, we've got the same design as we have on the XS Pro and the previous 725 Pro Sport, which is this kind of not overly big beaver tail like you get on an MK38. It's almost like a semi beaver tail. Again, very nicely figured to match the stock. Oil finish, double point checkering. And on the bottom, because it's obviously 100 years of Browning B25, we have got the famous man himself, John Moses Browning, his autograph on the bottom of the forend, which is a nice touch. That's also available on the S3 and the 525 composite. And the forend iron, which I quite like, is the bit more paisley tie engraving to complement the bottom of the action, which, let's not forget, is where the majority of the engraving is on this gun. So I talked about the fact that this gun is considerably lighter than the equivalent S3 because of the density of the wood, and particularly if you want to take it game shooting, I would err on the lighter side. Having said that, there is the option for the barrel weight system and the stock weight system, which is the Pro balancing system, which comes in the box. This gun has currently got no weighting whatsoever, and because of that, it should hopefully balance nicely on the hinge pin. So there we go, pretty much bang on, and that's £8 6 ounces. So just to reiterate, a good 4 or 5 ounces lighter than what you would probably find in the S3 equivalent. So onto the box. This is a box we've seen many times. The 725 Pro Sport came in it, the 825 S3 comes in it, and because of that, personally, I'd have put the 825 Pro Sport, as it's a higher grade gun, it's the top of the range, in a different case, just to kind of distinguish between the two. I would have used the brown, same as the XS Pro box, which is still from the Opaline range, but I think just looks a little bit more classy. Flip it open, and inside, again, no surprises here. We have got the black velour-esque stuff. We have got the Browning logo, and obviously we delve into the goodies. One thing I do like about the Browning 825 Pro Sport S3, 725 Pro Sport, etc., is you do get a nice set of these VC1 gun socks, which actually are impregnated. You can keep giving them a squirt with some oil, and they will prolong the life of your gun when it's broken down. They also do one-piece ones as well, so you can stick it in your cabinet. Trigger lock, we've seen it a million times. So we've got two boxes. The first one contains all the ancillary items to the balance and the changing of the trigger, etc. So we've got two triggers. One thing I didn't mention is the trigger is, of course, that brushed nitrided finish, which certainly looks good with the rest of the action. I think a gold trigger on this gun would look a bit cheap and a bit tacky, so good move there, Browning. There's different types. We've got the checkered one and we've got the slightly swaged one. Currently, we've got the Olympic trigger. It's worth mentioning at this point that one of the other new features of the Browning 825 model as a whole is Browning have improved the Firelight mechanical trigger. It's now called the Firelight 2, and the idea is it's supposed to work faultlessly and effortlessly with very light load cartridges. Like I said with the S3, because of the extra weight in the back of the gun, i.e. in the stock, you might not get that with that gun. You should do if Browning have refined the trigger system properly. However, I can remember a few 725 Pro Sports not working because they were just too heavy at the back and the gun wasn't allowed to move and, of course, switch over from the recoil. So two triggers, one on the gun. We've got the full set of stock weights, which are 20 grams each. So you can do the mass as 1, 2, 3, 6 there. We can add 120 grams to the back end of the gun should you find it barrel heavy. However, my experience of 725 and 825s is they're never ever barrel heavy. If anything, they're stock heavy. We've got some space with the adjustable comb. We've got the two barrel weights, which again you can put anywhere along the whole length of the center of the rib. Those are 37 grams each, but presumably if you wanted even more weight, you could put an extra set on, completely up to you. And the various Allen keys to adjust the stock, the trigger, and to put the weights on, etc. Into the second box. This is where we see the full complement of those new DS Pro chokes, all the way from 0 up to 45. I'm led to believe the actual chokes themselves are identical to the old DS. It's just a little bit of a facelift, a little bit of an upgrade. And to be fair, you know, shotgun manufacturers are always looking to move forward and change things and make them more appealing to the shooting public. So they have to keep changing stuff. So 8 chokes in total from skeet all the way up to kind of extra full. No real difference to the old 725 Pro Sport, just that they are named differently, if you like. We have got a stock bolt tool. It's always good, particularly with a gun that's got high grade wood, to just keep on top of the stock bolt. So periodically take the recoil pad off, just give it a twist, just make sure that stock is nice and tight, because ultimately if it does come slightly loose, the recoil will affect it and it will crack. It's as simple as that. So handy hint, top tip from me, keep on top of that stock bolt. And here we have the high-vis beads. We've got the extra colours, we've got green, we've got orange. They're slightly different thicknesses, whether you prefer a thin or a thick one, entirely up to you. And of course, to finish off, that's the 20mm Patmeyer decelerator recoil pad. We've got the hole in the back, obviously, to adjust the stock with the Allen key. And also these are all individually numbered to the gun because they are bespokely fitted, if that's a word, to the stocks over in Japan. And that pretty much it. We'll just mention the warranty. So in here we have the 825 book of words, which has been rewritten from the 725. Got the new logo on there. Again, it's quite comprehensive. It talks about the new choking systems, how to adjust the comb, how to take the fore end off, what way to point the barrels, you know, all the important stuff. And that is pretty much it. Like I said, this has been requested many, many times. And because it's quite different to an S3, I'm sure there's people there thinking, I really fancy the S3, but to know the exact differences between the two models, bearing in mind they've got the same action and barrels, I think it's quite important. And hopefully, if you're going to treat yourself to an 825 this year, the 100th year of Brown, let's not forget, I hope I've given you a bit more information to make that informed decision. For me, that's a great all-rounder. It's the pick of the bunch of the 825 range. I haven't seen a game gun yet. They seem to be scarcer than camels that lay golden eggs, but I'm sure we'll see one at some point. It's certainly going to be one of the best-selling guns of this year. They've been in very, very short supply. If you are interested in one or you'd like some more information, do feel free to contact me. Details are on the screen. Don't forget to check out the website. As ever, if you have enjoyed this, you thought, oh, he talks some good stuff, yeah, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification button, and then you'll know exactly what's coming up in the future. As ever, this video is proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show, where this gun was incidentally first launched here in the UK. That's it from me. Requested review. If you've got any, send them in, and I'll see you next week.